We're making the cheapest, easiest, best looking bases around. You can do this without an airbrush. It's really not a tough ask, and I'll show you how. I'll be showing you multiple ways to do this. One, we're going to be using an airbrush. The second, we're just going to use a normal brush. This doesn't have to be high tech. It can be as easy and simple as you make it. This entire hack is based around PVA glue, white craft glue. You've probably got a lot of this laying around at your house. If you got kids, you definitely got it. This simple product gives us an amazing crackle effect. It's very similar to the stuff that you'd buy the expensive Crackle paints, but there's an upside. You can actually color this whatever you want. It's essentially a clear medium. It gives you so much more versatility. I first saw it in the hobby space on a blog on Tangible Day. Go look that up if you want to see a nice laid out written guide. So to make this as absolutely simple as possible, we're going to do a 3-step plan. Number 1, we're putting down a base layer. Getting that on the bases, getting it nice and solid. It's going to show through afterwards, so make sure you pick colors you like and patterns you like. Step 2, we're going to put the craft glue down. That's going to be a nice uniform layer, and it's going to become a separation between our base layer and our top layer. What we're going to do in step 3 is put down that top layer. That can be whatever color you want. When the glue dries, it's going to pull apart and it's going to give you that nice crackle look. Alright, here we go with step 1. We're going to put down our base layer. This is really versatile and you can use it for really whatever you want. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do lava, we're going to do an alien world, and we're going to do some desert looking terrain. For each of those 3, I'm going to be hand painting and airbrushing. I'm going to do 6 bases for the 3 styles, and I'll show you both. It's got a rock outcrop on it. I'm going to do airbrush. That's going to be our little visual cue. For step 1, we're going to put down our base color. This is going to act as the bottom layer. It's going to show through in the end, so pick what you like. Pick what's going to offset your models, pick what's going to contrast and give you the most pop. This is also really slave to whatever you want for your effect. Now that we got that done, let's go on to step 2, the glue. And that's going to give us separation between that base layer and the top layer of paint that we put on, meaning that the top layer of paint is not going to mess up our base. The biggest thing to consider with this glue layer is, do you want it universal or do you want it varied? You can go thick and you can get large cracks, nice big open chasms, or you can put a real thin level down, keep it nice, uniform thin. You'll get a lot of spider webs, really small cracks running all over. So it really comes down to, what do you want? What's the style you want? From there, we're going to go on to adding color. This is step 3. This is really a simple step to do, but it's one place where you might mess this up. Pay a little bit of attention to what you're doing. What you don't want to do is you don't want to either brush on so hard or use your airbrush at such high pressure or a rattle can at such close distance that you push through the glue layer. Because once you go through that glue layer, you're going to be painting your base layer and then you're going to lose the effect. The other thing to consider is that we're using this glue to be a middle layer that dries and pulls apart. So what we don't want to do is we don't want it to start drying and then put our paint on top. In order to avoid any issues with this, I would probably recommend doing 2 to 3 bases at a time. Don't try and bang out a set of 10, because the chances that that first base might be dry by the time you get to the glue and the paint is pretty high. This option is really versatile. It gives you a lot of things you can do with it and a lot of ways to apply it. For the brush, you want to make sure your paint is thin, but not too thin. If it's too thin, it's going to obviously run all over the place and it's not going to give you good coverage. If it's too thick and you're trying to scrape it off onto the base, you're going to pull that glue away with it and you're going to lose the effect. Then for both the rattle can and the airbrush, make sure that you're either at a low enough pressure or a far enough distance to where you're not pushing the paint through the glue layer onto the base layer. Now once you do have that paint layer down, set that base down. Don't touch it. It may not look like much now, it might not look like it's working, but I promise it's going to be beautiful, just give it some time. If you are impatient, you can speed this up using a hairdryer. Again, what you're going to want to consider is the distance from the model, and you're going to want to keep it on a low heat setting. Now that our glue and paint's dry, we see this really nice pattern coming through. You can do a lot of different stuff with this. When you're putting down your glue layer, you can either do linear lines, you can do circles, swirls, X's, any kind of different pattern that you do to this glue is going to affect the way that it dries and it pulls apart. So the options are really endless, and it's really just up to you and what you want and how much experimenting you're going to do. Now that your bases are all set and beautiful, what you want to do is save them. Grab yourself some gloss varnish. You can do that through an airbrush. You can do it through a rattle can. Just get that on there, get nice layers, probably 2 coats, and that'll really help lock that in and keep it safe. And that's it. It's really that simple. If you want to see this in action, go ahead and go check out my Grey Knight video. I used it in there. It came out to a really great effect. Loved it. So you put down your base layer, you put down your glue, you put down your top layer. That's it. Hands off, you're done. Easy stuff. Go grab your bases, go grab your paints, go grab your glue, and go have some fun. See ya.